Hello techies. So today in this video we will see what Docker is and how to install a Docker desktop and I'll just give one example how to create a Docker container image. So Docker is a containerized application system where we can create a containerized application and put it as an image on a Docker and run the application. So each of these Dockers will be independent from each other, and each Docker can have separate processes in it, or the separate files, or maybe separate commands, which will serve the purpose of of an application. So as the image itself, you will see like there is one big Docker, and there are a lot of containers on top of it. So these containers are running on hypervisor, and each containers will perform certain task of that application. So I'll not go much into deep into this. I assume that since you are looking into this video, you are already working or maybe are learning Docker. I'll just focus on how to set it up, and then how we can use it to create a basic image. So first of all, we'll go to the official website of docker.com. From there, we'll install the installer for Windows. Once that is installed, we'll just run that exe and try to install it. So I'm just installing it, installing the Docker desktop. Uh, so it will take some time, but let's see like how it progresses. I'll just give a demo of how to install it. So let it start. Okay, so now the installation is about to start. So you can see installation has started. It is saying WSL2 is required. So this is WSL is a feature of Windows which needs basically which enables Windows to run some Linux commands. So it is Windows subsystem for Linux too, and Docker recommends to use WSL2 instead of Hyper-V. I told you right, it runs Docker containers runs on hypervisor, but instead of using hypervisor, we'll use WSL2. And before go ahead, I would recommend just to check one. I mean, we should check one settings in the Windows. We'll just go to apps and turn Windows feature on or off, the first option. So in this, we'll have to just see whether it is enabled or not. So if you can see here, Windows subsystem for Linux is already enabled. If in your system it is not enabled, we'll have to enable it. Once that is enabled, our system can understand, and the Docker can use WSL at the backend. So this we have to just check. Once this is done, we'll just say OK. So it will start unpacking the files and then proceeding further with the installation steps. So we'll just leave it for some time to get complete. Once this is completed, we'll see how the application looks. The installation has completed. We'll just close this window, and then we'll open the Docker desktop from the installed application. Docker desktop, we'll just run it. So you can see this window pops up. This is the initial window once you start your Docker. We just have to accept this service agreement. Once it is accepted, the user interface will open for Docker desktop. You can see this is the initial page of the Docker desktop user interface. We'll just say continue without signing in. We can sign in, but I'm not going to use Docker Hub as of now. So Docker Hub is just like GitHub, you can say, where the images will be getting pushed. So right now I will just create an image. I don't want to push it to Docker Hub or any repository. So we'll do a skip for here. Now this is starting, right? So at the back end, it will be starting a Docker daemon. So to run any Docker commands, right? This should be in the running phase. So it should be already started. Right now you can see it is saying that starting the Docker engine. So this engine needs to be running when we run any Docker commands. Otherwise your commands Windows will not be recognizing. So for that we need a Docker engine to be up and running. All right, so the engine is already started. So as you can see, there are few uh, tutorials here. There is nothing, no containers right now. There are no images right now because this is just a fresh install. So we won't see anything. But yeah, our engine is Docker engine is up and running. So now we can proceed with our further steps. So what I can do is just to maybe initially just to check for this, I'll just check. The first thing that we do is, right, we'll check the Docker version. No need for double hyphens here. So Docker version, we'll just check. You can see the engine version and everything it is showing. This means that the engine is up and running and it is properly installed. So now this is verified, right? So another thing we can just check is we can run any Docker command and see uh, whether it is also working fine or not. So if I do image ls, right now I haven't created any image, so I won't see that list here. But another command also I can run and check. Maybe I can search for any image which is already there in Docker Hub. So Docker search command will initiate a search and it will provide me with the details of Nginx. So Nginx is just an image for Nginx web server. So I'll just enter and we'll see whether it finds it or not. So there are so many uh, images with Nginx name. So the one which is required, we can use any one of them as a base image, and then we can create an our application on top of it. So this is just to verify whether Docker is up all good, installed and up and running. So now once this is done, I'll just give a small demo how to create an image out of a base image. So I'll just run a build command. So if you see this, I'll just first copy this and paste it here. So Docker build platform, I'm using Linux AMD 64. So this is a base image platform on Linux. And I'm just creating a Docker image and I'm calling that Docker image as test. So before running this, I just want I mean, I should introduce you with a Docker file first. So if you see the Docker file, so each project needs to have a Docker file. So uh, a build Docker build will build this file. So build this file means whatever commands we give in this file, right, it will uh, perform all those commands. It will install any dependencies in it. It will copy or whatever we want to do, right? All those things it will do. There will be some bash commands, some scripts, everything, and then a final image will be created out of this file. So at the root folder, this should contain a Docker file, and one root folder or one project should have one Docker file so that we can run the Docker build. So now once I run this Docker build, it will make use of a base image. So I'm using just for example lambda python base image. So I want to create an image of this lambda. So I am just using one lambda. I need to do some installation, some dependencies I need to install in my lambda environment, and then I need to create a package out of it. So it will create an image which will have this lambda and along with it all the requirements or all the dependencies in it. So this is just an example. Don't worry if you don't understand it right now. So each project should have a Docker file, and that Docker file should have some copy commands and some run and some bash commands. So all those things it contains. So we'll just run this Docker build here. So under your root folder only, we need to give this command. So I'll just give. docker build. So docker build will come to this learn underscore python folder. It will search for a docker file and it will start executing all these steps, and then finally it will create a package out of it, and that package is nothing but an image. We call it as a docker image, and that docker image I am giving an alias as test. So let's run this. I just hit enter. Now you can see that build has started, right? So all those steps, whatever I mentioned above, will be done here. So what is exactly saying is, so fail to read Docker file. Okay, so learn Python. I should be inside this lambda underscore Docker, right? So let me just cd into lambda underscore Docker. Okay, so because it did not find my Docker file, so I told, right, that the folder should have a Docker file. Uh, in other way, like Docker file should be present at the root folder. Now here I will again just give my build command. Okay, so build is starting. You can see uh, it is saying that uh, build definition from Docker file, and then Docker file is 6468 bytes, and all those details it is giving. So all those steps what it is doing, it will be coming in this log. So we'll have to wait just for a few moment, and then it will be complete. All right, so now the installation is complete. As you can see from the base image, which I had mentioned in my Docker file, from the base image, it downloaded all the necessary files and then extracted them. Then it performed the copy operations that I had mentioned. That is the steps specific to my task, or what I want to do. I wanted to copy lambda to the root folder of this image, and then install and do a pip install of all the dependencies. So all these is done. You can see steps number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So once it is all done, it is finally writing an image, and that image it is giving a name that I had given while running that build command. So now build is complete. If we go to our Docker desktop, you will see under images, now this image that I gave, right, image name and then a tag as test is created here. So this image, it consists of my all files in it. It has the Python code, it has the requirements, all the packages installed, and yeah, and this is the final image. Now this, the next step from this would be to push this image to a Docker hub. I mean, the way that we do with the normal code, we push that code to a Docker to a repository, right? To a GitHub or Bitbucket or anything. The same way, we need to push this to a repository. It is called as a GitHub, the Docker Hub repository, and from there then we can pull this image and create as many containers we want, and we can launch it on top of a Docker, and that we can execute those number of tasks. So that is whole different set of details. I would not go much in deeper into that, but yeah, this is all how we can use a Docker desktop to create images. Maybe in some future videos I'll show how to push this image and then how to run it, and all those things we can see. But for now, I think this is what I wanted to show. So yeah, I think we are done. So I hope you liked this. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel so that I can get motivated to bring up more informative videos for you all. So yeah, that's it for now. Have a nice day. Bye bye.